Hello, hello. How are you all? It's Margot Messery, your heartfelt CFO. I am going to take a hot minute and double check that all our tech is working. This is awesome. Okay. Such a fun topic today. How is everyone doing? My fellow mental health business owners, I am so excited to be here with you. Let's take a deep breath and just give ourselves a moment. You know, Mondays with Margot, talking about these topics, or whenever you're listening to this, just give yourself a chance to come in and arrive and be like, okay, I get to learn more about money and business and tax from CFO Marco. Today's topic, I want to just take a minute to explain what we're going to talk about. It's the connection between cash flow and your mental health. Now, it could become confusing because you're mental health business owners. However, even though it's coincidental, it really does help our overall health and well being, understanding a little bit of the factors that are involved with cash flow. Think about when you open up your water faucet, there's a steady flow of water that comes out when you open up the water, right? And if we didn't pay the bill for like 6 months or something like this, what happens? There's a disruption of service. And it starts to be like, oh my gosh, how am I going to wash my hair? How am I going to wash the dishes? How am I going to boil coffee? And all of those things. So, can we just agree that cash flow is the lifeblood of your business? And it's basically what's moving in and out of business. Obviously, Marco, right? It's the money coming in and out of the business. Now, by default, everybody wants to make more money. However, I want to encourage you to spend more time on what is actually coming in the business, what you're actually using the money for so that you can do more of what's working. Now, how do you know what's working? Is because you see consistent patterns with what's working. Now, the biggest thing of what happens with our cash flow is that we start to develop a peace of mind knowing that we could plan ahead, we can develop certainty, we can pay bills on time, and we can make decisions based off of this. It also gives us like a sense of empowerment because we know we have money, we can pay our mortgage, we can pay our staff, and during challenging times we can plan for things like maybe medical situations and whatnot. And when you have a CFO on board, what happens is that they help you manage of what's coming in so that you can engineer your bills and payroll and all sorts of expenses so that you don't have to feel strapped. It's more working onto a system and strategy than necessarily just haphazard doing whatever people ask of you. Most of the time when I come into businesses and I work together with my clients, I find what ends up happening is that I see them working off of what people are telling them what they need versus also trying to match it with their actual business needs. So, what's a better decision? We don't want to guess. We want to see that there's sustainable growth in the business. So what we do is that we look when money is coming into our business so that we can funnel things around this. And you want to have a reliable source on how things are coming. Lots of times you have private pay clients versus like insurance. So I'll give you a story. I put our dog in daycare and their billing is like Monday. Like there's no if, ands, or buts. It has to be on Monday or else you ain't coming back. And that's literally what they told me upon the entrance. And I was like, okay, I know on Mondays, so that I always have to have it on Sundays set for them. But if it didn't work for me Mondays, I would have to tell them. Now, lots of times what I see is happening is something simple, which is that more expenses are going out versus money coming in, which brings me to the topic of always doing your income generating activities. Now, lots of times doing our income generating activities is really hard because you're servicing clients one to one. And when you service clients one to one is where you find the time. Whatever it is, whether it's at the end of the day or the beginning of the day, finding that 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or an hour, whatever it is, to have your income generating activities is really just so key. And what we want to do is that we want to see that you have reliable cash flow so that you can invest in your future, invest into the expansion. Now, you kind of like, all of this sounds easy, but the cash flow is back to still low. The only way to bring up income is to do income generating activities. The only way to understand your cash flow is to pay attention to the pattern and to work on the gap. And the gap is where your daily activities come in to make sure that the business is moving forward. It's not just hoping, it's not just praying that the phone is going to ring, it's doing something intentional. A common question that I always get asked is, what should I charge for private pay? And I've seen all the way from 100 all the way to 250. What I say is that ask your ideal client, talk to them, see what they could afford. If you ask them for 150 but 125 is serving better, then that's the rate that they will pay. Sometimes 125 is actually what you're getting from insurance, and insurance is doing all of the work. So what I do is with our clients is that we monitor where your best rates are coming from and do more of that. You're kind of, then you're probably like, Margot, if you're giving this all of a lie, why do I need you? There's a balancing act between this in terms of cash flow engineering all the time and growing your practice. When you focus on one thing, that's where your energy and the activity is going to grow. And what I want you to take from this is that when you understand your own cash flow, you get peace of mind, you have a sense of empowerment, and you get to plan for the future. When you have that sense of empowerment, you're building a sense of resiliency. You're building a sense of decision making, and the decision making that's working for you. And you see, is the business able to have sustainable growth or not? To loop this together, I was working with a client last week, and he was telling me, he was like, now that I know where my money is going and not just worrying about if I could pay the bills, he knew exactly what the gap of what he was working on to get his cash flow back up and running. There were some struggles were happening. And a different client of ours also, it was the same thing. They understood their money, so they were understanding where the cash flow comes from. Now, the process of what worked before, I can't tell you how easy it is to just do the same thing. So if psychology today is where the clients are coming from, enhance your profile. Follow up on people who didn't get appointments or canceled or maybe graduated, and just say hello. But always look to see what you're doing to grow, because you never know who's going to graduate your services, and you want to always bring in fresh blood into your business. Now, a different client of ours, I remember her bank account went negative, and it was really difficult for her. Sometimes the harder lessons is what it takes for us to step into a space where we need to see what happened to stop the behavior so that we can monitor things going forward. The easy answer is to cut back on expenses. But when you have a skill and you have potential, you're actually hurting people out there who need you, and your skill from helping them for their families and all of the people around that. And you don't want to do that. So help your own mental health, and you're setting an example for yourself, and then your clients will pay you, because the system that you set up for yourself, you're not going to accept clients who don't pay you, or there's like this straggling service that happens with them, and it's kind of like this train that you're continuing to try to meet. And it could just be, I'll pay you by next Monday, or I'll pay you by Thursday, whatever it is. But there's a commitment, there's an agreement, and there's a sense of integrity between you and your client. Building resiliency is a solid foundation to any storm that happens. Now, if you're in a back debt situation and you're still trying to muddle through the future, and you're kind of like, once I catch up, then I'll call for services, I'm going to tell you this: you're always going to play on catch up. Let's not play catch up anymore. Step ahead, lead to the garden. Let's work together on CFO decisions so that you can be in charge of your cash flow and making it better and better, because you in charge of the cash flow. What's happening is that you're in your own way. So re-listen to this. Let's take some action together. Always let me know how that turns out so that I can give you some steps around this. And I'm happy to be as a resource or hop on a call with you to talk more. I love the feedback. I encourage you all to take action. And if you're there and you're kind of like, I want to step into cash flow and I'm still afraid, what I'll say is that the gift and the recovery of being afraid of your money and cash flow is waiting for you on the other side. And the only way through it is to start to walk through the challenge so that it can continue to work for you more and more and more. I'm excited to hear your responses. Please keep me posted. And as always, I look forward to talking to you soon.